Good evening. Lleswyl means Wellbeing Festival in Welsh. And fantastic production. Great mix of quality music and powerful conversation. Excellent hosts. This could be on mainstream TV. This is just some of the feedback Daring to Dream has had about Lleswyl. Did you know there are hundreds of thousands of us in Wales for whom getting to a live gig or festival is never going to happen because of illness, clinical vulnerability, and cost? So Daring to Dream has created the festival to bring to them in the comfort of their own homes. They can invite friends over or the family, have their own watch party. So, 3 things I'm going to talk about tonight. The first one is Daring to Dream, the emotional health charity. The second one is Daring to Dream's Lleswyl. And the third one is Daring to Dream's initiative of making spaces to talk. Well, it all began the last Monday in February 2016. I was desperately ill. I got myself to my first ever cardiology appointment where I met Dr. Nav Masani, well known by many as a cardiologist at UHW. Nav gently told me I was in acute cardiac failure. Within a couple of hours, I was in the Heath, and close after that, I went into a spontaneous pulmonary edema. Talk about traumatic, terrifying. I came through it all with great clinical care. But that was the acute crisis that set me off on a path to found Daring to Dream. So the next 18 months or so, they were really tough. I became a sort of mystery shopper at UHW. Extra illnesses, more clinicians, more appointments, more inpatients. It was difficult. It was very tough. But by 2018, I was a lot stronger physically and also very aware of the emotional toil all of this had taken on me. And it was at that time I had my first non-clinical conversation with Nav and said, do you know, is there space to form an emotional health charity that could support people living with illness? So we decided to create dedicated spaces in wards for some of the toughest of conversations to support patients, their families, the staff who care for them in these hard conversations to give them the privacy and respect that they need at that time, instead of what tragically happens so often, which is these tough conversations happen at the bedside with another patient 2 to 3 feet away through that blue curtain. So we got into gear really quickly. We raised some money. We actually made over 2 rooms in the cardiothoracic directorate. And we were going great guns, red ribbon event, opened everything up, and wham, COVID. Woof. We were all locked up, locked down, whatever the phrase is. What was it going to do now with the charity? Okay, the admin took over. So as we came out of lockdown, Daring to Dream in its official charity form was born. And then thankfully, we had a few months to carry on negotiating some other future rooms, beginning to raise a bit of money, and we were getting into gear, and lo and behold, we know what happened next. Lockdown, just as ahead of Christmas 2020. Well, when times are tough, actually, this is when we got the space for creativity and innovation. And Daring to Dream, between Christmas Day 2020, New Year's Eve 2020, put together our very first online festival. On Zoom, free, brought together family, friends, colleagues, neighbours in England, in Wales, in Europe, and actually in Australia. We were global. It was amazing. It was good fun, great music, and we raised a lot of money for our first critical care space. So that was the conception of Lleswyl. Gestation was a bit more than 9 months, because actually it was late November 21 before Lleswyl 21 happened. And that was a wonderful mix of fantastic groups like Afrocluster, all pre-recorded in the studio, and some fantastic inspirational people being interviewed and lovely hosts. So that was where Lleswyl began. Since then, we have developed our product. Lleswyl is broadcast end of February annually on YouTube. Amazing musicians, very diverse, excuse me, inspirational charities highlighted, great patient stories, and through it all, fascinating conversation about emotional health and living with illness. Invited guests, come to the sofa, join our hosts. It's amazing. And if you want to know what it looks like, think one show meets Children in Need, meets Graham Norton, and basically that's Lleswyl. So, emotional health, what is it? Emotional health is being able to name our feelings and talk about them. So, Daring to Dream supports the emotional health of the 1.2 million of us in Wales living with illness. We support them emotionally, not mentally. The clinical support we have in care looks after us physically, but being ill creates a storm of emotions that we've got to grapple with. And if we talk about them and resolve them, we get better more quickly. So the charity's vision is actually quite simple. We want to enable everyone in Wales living with illness to live their best lives by having emotional health support as well as the clinical care. So I've also mentioned that we make spaces to talk. We do that in 3 ways. Firstly, all of us can give the time and make a space for anyone we know who wants to talk about how they feel arising from being ill. Secondly, we create safe spaces in hospitals. Our spaces are really important. They help people deal emotionally with the most toughest of medical scenarios. We know our rooms can't change the clinical outcomes, but they can change how we cope with it all emotionally. So in just 5 years, we're now across 3 health boards. We've completed 12 rooms. We have got 3 in progress, and we've got 15 in planning. So, as a charity, we are spearheading a movement to say that emotional health is a critical element of living well with illness. When we are ill and we respond emotionally, this is not a sign that we have a mental health condition. It is simply being a human being. So we are not a mental health charity. We are an emotional health charity. So we are building that movement. We are building space to talk, and we're doing it one conversation at a time, one Lleswyl at a time, and one space to talk room at a time. Diolch yn fawr iawn.